Well, folks, I finally bought my first Muso, so now I'm legally allowed to complain about them. Honestly, I kind of feel bad for Muso fans sometimes. They truly are the most oppressed. There aren't many other subgenres that get universally dunked on quite as hard and casually as Musos. In recent years, I think the image of the games has infinitely more to do with the context of their existence than the content of the individual games themselves. For anyone out there who doesn't understand why these games get such a bad rep, let me try and explain. Sure, there are some folks who have played the games and just don't particularly care for the gameplay style, and it isn't their cup of tea, and you know, that's self-explanatory, it just isn't for them, but for most people, the problem is a lot more meta. It's, oh, a video game based on a thing I like was announced. Oh, it's just a Muso. Imagine there's a franchise you really like and they just announced there's gonna be a video game based on it, but it's just a Call of Duty reskin, or like Madden, or something. Do you see what I mean? You want something specifically tailored to the franchise you like, not a paint-by-numbers flip of an existing game with a license slapped on it. I'm a guy who actually likes Call of Duty a little bit, but understand that when I say I want a James Bond video game or whatever, I don't mean that I want a Call of Duty game with Daniel Craig in it, you feel me? I actually wrote that line before it was announced that the Hitman guys are gonna be doing a James Bond video game, so go me for being relevant on accident, I guess. Anyway, I thought Persona 5 Scramble was going to be the game that broke me and forced me to buy a Muso because I'm gullible and I'll do anything to hang out with my anime friends more, except of course for dancing or falling for the same trick twice. But seeing as Atlus can't decide if they want to release Strikers internationally or not, I suppose a good old Zelda will have to do. Okay, and I wrote that joke before Strikers had an international release date too. Gee whiz. Number one, clearly it's taking me too long to make this video. Number two, I am 2 for 2 on the prophetic jokes so far. I need to keep writing about things that I want in videos, clearly. I didn't have any interest in the first Hyrule Warriors, but this one may actually have some of that juicy canon lore tucked away inside. I'm a Kingdom Hearts fan, so clearly I'm susceptible to this model. Oh no, society is falling apart in video games too. This is actually just Nintendo's burn pile for any leftover copies of Mario 3D All-Stars. Oh no, it's March 31st already. I didn't get my copy. Looks like I'm gonna have to go back in time. A time traveler, huh? If people keep coming back to get copies of Mario, I won't be able to scalp them for $500 on eBay. I have to put a stop to this. I'm actually pretty impressed by how well this game retains the look of Breath of the Wild. Like, I was talking about Persona 5 Scramble a second ago, which looks close to Persona 5, but it's just slightly off in a way that's incredibly noticeable if you've spent 100 hours with the original. But this is so close. I mean, obviously the frame rate's off and the camera works a bit differently, but it does kind of feel of a piece with the original. I don't have the exact layout of Breath of the Wild's ruins and rolling hills memorized perfectly in my head, but it feels like you're in the same world as OG Breath of the Wild. All right, let's take this game for a spin. What can I do with Link here? I can swing my sword around, I can spin a little bit, I can... Okay, this may be the greatest video game yet designed. I'm not getting that juicy canon lore, am I? To be honest, I kind of figured this game was gonna deal with an alternative timeline from the beginning. I mean, after all, the towers are above ground, the characters are using their Sheikah Slate abilities, Zelda especially, so it was just kind of a dead giveaway, even in the trailers, that this was gonna be a different continuity. I joked about canon lore a minute ago, but all jokes aside, the only thing I really wanted from this game's story was more character work for Zelda, and maybe enough to make me care about some of the supporting cast too. I really found Zelda to be an interesting, engaging character in the flashbacks from Breath of the Wild, and even though this isn't technically the same timeline, I'd just like to see more of her. And on that note, I think it's fair to say that that was one of my bigger disappointments with this game, that I really didn't get much of that stuff. There is this one scene where Zelda's being all insecure and down on herself, and Impa gets to be a good friend and aggressively boost her self-esteem a bit, and that was cute. I also like the 1 or 2 scenes of Zelda and Urbosa together. Their relationship existed primarily in the realm of implication in Breath of the Wild, so it was nice to actually feel the familiarity and connection in this game, however briefly. Zelda gets some good moments that respect her character here and there throughout the game, but they really don't do much new or super interesting with her. In that same vein, considering that this game is essentially just a for fun, superfluous romp with these characters, I'm surprised how little most of them have to do. I mean, they bother to put Impa in the game, but she doesn't get to do anything. The champions are pretty much confined to their pre-established roles with the exception of the aforementioned Urbosa and Zelda scenes. I mean, heck, Mipha's romantic interest in Link is downplayed. I don't know, I guess I just expected more if they were bothering to make the game at all, but whatever, I imagine we're supposed to be here for the gameplay, right? This being the first Musou game I've touched for more than 10 minutes continuously, I won't deny that the minute-to-minute action of hitting a lot of things with wide sweeping sword attacks is fun. My main concern with these games is always the longevity, the gameplay variety, and one of the biggest problems with this game in particular is enemy variety. It's a problem the game inherits from Breath of the Wild to some extent, and I think it's worse here, since all the standard grunts are functionally the same, and even the boss-type monsters have a pretty shallow roster. Wizard Cloth, Big Stick Guy, Eye Guy, Geodude, and Ferenz our Centaur friend. You gotta fight these guys a lot throughout this game, and while I wouldn't necessarily say that they stopped being fun, I will say that it was a bit weird to get to the last few levels of the game and discover that the bosses were all just things I'd already fought before. The end game only has 3 unique, quotation marks, bosses, and I'm hard-pressed to tell you anything unique about their attack patterns from memory, but I mean, I suppose we'll get to that later. Honestly, I find I'm having quite a difficult time talking about this game because there just isn't all that much to it. I keep hearing it said that Musous are about strategy, but I'm not sure I ever lost a friendly commander or a friendly base or even failed a mission that wasn't one of the special one-hit-and-you're-dead side objective thingies. Not that I even think that that's a problem necessarily. I didn't feel the need for more of a challenge, I just felt the need for more variety, more of a mix-up in what I was doing. As it goes though, I mean, the game's fun, hitting lots of goons is fun, and swapping around to different perspectives means that you don't have to spend too much time out of the action, unless you really just want to manually run your character around the entire map for fun, which I admit I did do a couple of times since I wanted to get a look at certain parts of Hyrule in its heyday. Seeing Akala Citadel was especially cool. I kind of assumed they just wouldn't bother to create a map here since they'd have to create a lot of new assets and probably a whole new layout, but they actually did it. Shame on me for thinking they were only gonna flip areas from base Breath of the Wild, just with, you know, the odd undestroyed house or road here or there, I guess. They actually did a bit more than I was expecting them to, which was, I guess, nothing. I'm getting ahead of myself again though, so let's back up. Gosh, Impa's fun. She goes all whooshy whooshy. I heard people saying how fun she was in this game, but they kinda undersold it. As things progress and you learn more about how to play her, she has this slightly different rhythm from the other characters. You wanna spawn in these clones to do big damage and hit more enemies, time their usage to get the stronger special attacks off, that kind of stuff. It wasn't exactly hard to do, but it feels like you're doing more than just the light and strong attacks, so I mean, that's fun. Link getting the red power moves that hurt him when he uses two-handed swords was also a lot of fun. What about Princess Zelda herself though? I kept reading in reviews and stuff that she's not that fun to play in this game. Everyone who says Zelda isn't fun in this game needs to get their eyes checked. Honestly, I think Zelda was fun for me because she's a little bit wacky to play. I actually felt like I was doing something. I needed a much more concrete understanding of her moveset in order to play her effectively, compared to the rest of the characters that I mained. But I guess that's something else to talk about. I didn't ever really want to mess with the rest of the roster. I dipped my toe in the water with basically every character that I unlocked. I played at least 1 or 2 of their side missions, but I had no drive to go further than that. An individual character in this game isn't deep enough to get that rewarding feeling of mastery you get from fighting games, but I also feel like they're too complicated to really learn more than 3 or 4 of them. I mean, sure, you could always just pick a character and mash, but why do that when you could play as someone you understand and really trounce the bad guys? I don't know, maybe I just have small brain. I could only ever keep up with 1 or 2 characters in fighting games myself. One way or the other, I mostly just stuck to Link, Impa, and Zelda throughout Age of Calamity. I mean, the game gave them to me first, so I learned how to use them first, and they got the job done. Half the missions require them anyway, and I got better and better at doing exactly what I wanted to do with them. I started learning Mipha, then dropped her, and sort of learned Urbosa, but I barely even flirted with the rest of the roster. So much of this game is already about grinding stuff out. I don't think that additional grinding with extra characters is really an added value for me. I mean, it's neat that you can pick whoever you personally want to learn, of course, and I certainly would not suggest that the game should have had a smaller roster. The good news is that if there's a character you really want to play, they're probably here. I'm just saying that once I had my characters figured out, the size of the roster didn't do much for me personally. Speaking of grinding though, wowzers does this game stretch its content thin. You replay missions for resources, you play new do side missions for resources, you spend resources to get moves, you spend resources to get other resources, you dump weapon resources into weapon resources, you wait like 20 hours before unlocking the aspect of weapon resources that actually let you dictate what you want to do with the weapon resources. This is what I'm talking about when I say that the shallow roster of enemies is a real problem. There's only so many times that you can boot up a mission that's a map you've already been to with the objective of killing the same enemy you've already killed before to get some resources. This is also why I zeroed in so hard on the characters that I knew. What's the point of loading up a mission as a random joker I can't play well when I could go in as Impa so I know exactly how to launch myself into the air to always hit Eye Guy's eye and Rock Lobster's rock bit. These guys are annoying to fight as anyone who can't instantly hit their weak points, and honestly, even when you knock the rock guys over, the game is really wonky about letting you get on their backs to hit their weak points. I don't know, maybe Bird Boy is really good at fighting these enemies, but I never found out. Seeing as I could kill anything in about 30 seconds if I really set my mind to it as Impa, there just wasn't a need. I do like that the game gives you this meditation arena. I don't think I even would have learned the characters I did learn if there hadn't been a training room where you could practice your light to heavy transitions and get the rhythm worked out. All that time in the lab though, and I still don't know why Impa has a frog thing. I thought frogs were Zelda's thing. Why doesn't Zelda have a frog attack? I appreciate the sheer quantity of text for side quests in this game too. Most of them aren't really anything memorable, and it doesn't make up for the fact that a lot of this game is just mindless menuing after mindless grinding, but it's something. I also appreciate that you can just hit a button and the game instantly tells you what shops to visit or what missions to run to get whatever relevant resources you need. This game would be absolutely miserable if that feature wasn't there.
Studying relics again,
Reading your nerd books again, Zelda. How many times do I have to tell you to try out for the football team? I wish I'd had a son.
I want to explore all options, to do everything that I can.
Even so, it seems that you are avoiding your duty.
I like it that Link just has to hang out and listen to all of these domestics. Maybe the reason he doesn't talk is because if he did, he'd violate an NDA he signed with the royal family.
Now, what did you find?
Oh, wow, you found the power button. Amazing.
Stop right there.
Go!
Stop that thing!
Boy, it's a really good thing that those assassins just gave up and didn't slit Purah and Robbie's throats, I guess.
Something must have happened. It cannot be.
I'm not getting that juicy canon lore, am I?
Alrighty, a good spot for Rodania would be...
Wait, hold on a second. What? These dumbasses hadn't already figured out their positioning when they thought that the attack was happening tomorrow? I think Ganon might deserve to win, you guys. These people have every advantage and they're just too stupid to live. All right, see, this is pretty cool. This kind of stuff is why I'm glad this game is eschewing canon. After all, in the original version of the story, everyone just kind of died, and there was no big battle, no counteroffensive. Actually getting to play this out, being at Hyrule Castle when it happens and punching your way through enemy lines, this is all kinds of fun. I much prefer that this game is remixing things to, you know, the alternative of a straight canon retelling of events. I think this was a smart move for this game. I also like that you can barge into the king's secret study. They didn't have to include that, but it's a cute touch. It was definitely one of the more memorable discoveries for me when I played the original game, so I checked for it as soon as I was in the library in Age of Calamity. I'm sure they knew veteran players would look, and the nod is appreciated. He's still a bad dad, though. Hey, speak of the devil and he shall appear. Finally doing something helpful for a change, I see. Oh, come on, he can just perfect parry that. He's fine. Actually, in this game, he doesn't even need to perfect parry it because the basic block stops the Guardian lasers. If he'd run into a rock lobster though, now that would have been some trouble. He's too hefty to reach that weak point.
The divine beasts. Ganon has...
Failed.
You know, some of the fight scenes in this game are not that bad. Not to beat a dead horse, but this is just a random non-canon filler game with random non-canon filler fight scenes, and they're more exciting than any of the fights in the much-hyped decade-in-the-making saga concluding Kingdom Hearts 3. There's some cool anime stuff smattered throughout this. It's fun to see the characters fighting hard and struggling with all that they have to survive. It's the simplest trick in the book, of course, but as it turns out, I can actually be made to like Revali a little bit if he's in peril but trying his best to take down as many bad guys with him as he can. Excuse me? Wait, the Dorito don't live that long, do they?
Where did you...
Oh, I'm not getting that juicy canon lore, am I? Okay, all right, never mind. This is the best character in the game. Forget Hestu or the fairy or whatever the heck. Give me more of this tomfoolery, please. It's a minor thing, but I really like the touch that the modern characters have inflated perspectives on the legendary heroes of 100 years ago, you know? And like, then when Revali dumps on Link, who Teba is, you know, actually friends with in the future, Teba's like, wait, was this guy an asshole the whole time? This kind of stuff is fun. This game really, it needed more stuff like that. Could have maybe probably done with fewer of these Divine Beast segments though. Honestly, I don't even think they'd be all that bad if they were just shorter and you moved faster. The whole power trip fantasy thing doesn't work as well when the carnage feels inefficient. Like you feel like you can't get your reticle over the enemies. Considering this is a back-of-the-box feature, I feel like more effort could have been put in. But then again, the developers had their hands tied with the pre-established designs of these things from when they were, you know, dungeons in the proper game. Flying a big stone bird that doesn't really have any points of articulation doesn't lend itself very well to exciting animation work. So I guess I can't blame, you know, the Koei Tecmo Omega Force whatever guys on this one. Game, were there supposed to be impact sounds there, or does the shield absorb sound waves too? Was that intentional? And I can't wait to tell the folks back home about this. Shame none of them will ever believe me. Man, I really hope that in Breath of the Wild 2, Teba and Riju and Sidon and the other one all remember the events of this game and they're like, hey, Link, Zelda, having fun with your underground rehydration adventures? That's cool, we just finished killing 1,000 bad guys and creating an alternate timeline, no biggie.
Let's go! Here we gon' ride. We gon' ride. Yeah, and they saying they the best to get it way out of your range. You feel like you just cut a check for the price of your life. And maybe I can get you a little something on the licenses. It's been a long time
No, seriously, everyone who says Zelda isn't fun in this game is nuts. This is the best. I will defeat Calamity Ganon with the greatest power of all, imbued in D's hands. Brand recognition. Bow before me, Nintendrone army.
Well then, what did you want to tell me?
For real with this? For real, too stupid to live. You guys have been fighting shapeshifters all game and you're being lured away to a covert, actually, you know what, never mind. Impa can kill anything. Zelda's safer here than she was up on that wall addressing the army a minute beforehand. Oh wow, he's alive, look at that!
But you're all right.
Zelda, I survived the betrayal of Duke Auntlet. Did you really think that some robot lasers could kill me? You see, I told you, he didn't even need to perfect parry it.
While I accused you of evading your duty, in truth, perhaps I was guilty of the same.
Yeah, you're a terrible father.
That's not...
No, it really is, honey. You know, despite the fact that this game doesn't get as involved with Zelda's character as I would have liked, they do give her, you know, little moments here and there. It's the bare minimum, I know, but again, it's better than nothing.
Zelda.
Oh, hi, Zelda, you having an emotional moment with your dad here, sorting out your baggage? That's cool. Don't mind me, I'm just hanging out, wearing a heffalump costume. Seriously, don't let me get in the way. I'm not even here.
To the castle!
Hey, wait, why is she giving the orders? Isn't the king still alive? Listening to the 17-year-old girl? Anyway, I was enjoying my time with this game enough to dabble in a good number of the extra objectives and side missions and whatnot, but by the time that I got to the final couple of levels, I really wasn't feeling it as much as perhaps I should have. On the one hand, it's neat that the game wraps up by sending you back to Hyrule Field and Castletown, but on the other hand, it really shows this game's limitations. You're going through the same maps, fighting the same enemies and bosses you fought before, and worse yet, after you beat all the bosses that you fought before, you just have to fight them again. I actually got kind of hype when I saw the Blood Moon cutscene happening because I hadn't thought about it for the whole game and, it caught me by surprise. I was thinking, oh, what cool, exciting thing are they gonna do now to mix it up? But then, boo, all it is you have to do the same thing you just did again after doing the same thing that you just did again, the game, for the last 40 hours. I don't know, at least they give you the king at the ending and he's kind of fun to play. And I really liked that sometimes you'd see the divine beasts like bombard an area and wipe a ton of enemies out. I don't know, I guess it's just the nature of the game and maybe of the whole genre, but aside from those kind of bombardments, which is really just an extra visual flair, I just didn't get the grand final assault vibe that the mission desperately needed. Because mechanically, as I said, we're just doing the same thing we've been doing for the rest of the game. I mean, I got into it in fits and starts. I started to, kind of feel it a bit more, like when I was harnessing Zelda's ceiling powers and blasting guardians to smithereens with lasers, but these last couple of missions really needed a gameplay shakeup to make the contextual shakeup actually feel like something, to give the ending a different texture. Maybe we should have been able to designate targets for the divine beasts to strike, right? That would have been kind of cool, in the same way that you got a voiceover from the champions in Breath of the Wild original. Whenever their special abilities would recharge, we'd kind of do a callback to that, and every 60 seconds or so, you'd get a little voiceover like, Urbosa here, ready to launch another strike, or something like that. And then you'd be given something to help you designate where the bombardments were gonna hit, kind of the same way that the magic rods work, and you could just, point in a direction and wipe out an entire outpost in one go, or something like that. I don't know, that would have really helped the energy of this ending. As it stands, when the Blood Moon happened, I just got sick of it and I switched to Impa so that I could kill everything instantly. Look at her, she's literally worth 9 men. Those two dumbasses are just running into walls. I kind of love this goofy army. It's simultaneously the most and least intimidating. Oh no, it's Evil McBadGuy and his accomplice, Evil BB-8. He's gonna mess up our plan just like he did in The Last Jedi. I think this final level may have hit a lot harder if the one Hyrule Castle level that happened earlier in the game hadn't also been washed out red with Ganon goo taking the place over. This level is a bit different than the last time you were here, but it doesn't feel different unless you're literally doing a direct head-to-head comparison of the footage. I know I'm just being redundant at this point, redundantly complaining about the game's own redundancies, but yeah, come on, it would have been fun to do the level where you were going through the castle pre-destroyed and then flip over to this. Even the bosses are the same, as per usual. Let's just rush on to the new bosses then. Evil McBadGuy here decided that he wanted to fight Impa. That didn't go so well for him. I found a Korok seed. Oh yeah, there are Koroks in this game. Boy, I sure lost interest in looking for those when I realized they were for upgrading a character I would never play. Zelda and her dad had a little father-daughter bonding time, killing a robot together. What was that? Oh, this guy, Evil McBadGuy. Oh, what a guy. Oh no, our little robot friend. He's been forced to turn on us against his will. Effing kill it. I never liked you anyway. Oh no, she built it. It was her and her mom's little robot buddy.
Mother? You're not going to leave me too, right, Terrico? Father, no! Please don't take it away!
The return of the Calamity has been foretold. As the Princess of Hyrule, your sole focus must be on your training. A toy such as this is merely a distraction.
Please! Please!
I'm sorry.
Oh, jeez. Zelda, I'm sorry I killed your best friend and the only living memory of your mother. I was just really excited that I finally got to fight a new type of enemy. I know you can't ever forgive me for this, but
Calamity Ganon.
Yes, Calamity Ganon is to blame. Yes, let's go defeat him, get revenge, and all that. Yes. Whew, dodged a bullet there. Whatever, yeah, so you fight the Monster Man, and I will say again that the cutscenes in this game are not that bad. They're not amazing, but some of the action is decent, and there's even some interesting editing here and there, like this little match cut. They actually, they tried in spots. There's some good shots in this game. I do kind of wonder why Impa isn't in any of these ensemble shots at the ending of the game, though. She's just as much a main character in this game as any of the champions. She's kind of part of Zelda's little squad. I don't know why she just isn't here for the ending. I don't know, maybe if she wasn't the MVP of my entire war, I wouldn't have noticed her absence. Also, for what praise I've just offered the cutscenes, the final beating Ganon up clip could have been a lot better. Everyone's just kind of standing off to the side while Link and Zelda punch it without resistance. Oh well, at least hitting the final seal prompt when you actually beat him in the fight, that felt fun. That was kind of cool. That was gratifying to switch over to Zelda, hit the button, finish it off with her own hands. That felt kind of cathartic after after having seen the alternative timeline of how things could go in canon Breath of the Wild. But I don't know, I didn't have much investment in killing this thing, It's even more anonymous than it was in Breath of the Wild. At least in that game, there was this, dozens of hours of looming wait to your final confrontation. Here it just kind of happens because, hey, how else is the game gonna end? Oh, well. Uh-oh, it looks like the real Organization 13 has run out of time. I love that her seal is a distinct time-traveling entity. It's too bad the other champions couldn't bring buddies with them.
I know that we'll meet again, dear brother.
Well, yeah, you will, Mipha. You're gonna go home, and he'll just be there. He won't meet you again, though. I don't know why you would mock him like this. He's never gonna see you again. He's going back to where you're dead. For a healer, Mipha doesn't have a very good bedside manner.
May the light shine upon you for all time.
Okay, for real, seriously though, where's Impa? She was there the whole time until now. So that's Zelda Fighter's Age of whatever. There's still all this post-game stuff, but after a game that was already a huge grindathon, I'm not sure I feel like engaging in yet more grinding. I do think it's cute to make the post-game resource grind about reconstructing your fallen robot buddy though. If nothing else, they found a good way of kind of framing the post-game content. All in all, for my first time all the way through a Muso, I wouldn't say this game was bad, but I'm not sure I'll ever have cause to revisit it, especially considering that by the time I release this, Persona 5 Strikers will be out, and it looks like it utterly annihilates this game on pretty much every front. Seriously, hearing people say that Age of Calamity is one of the best Musos ever made, then looking at the trailers and gameplay for Strikers and seeing how much more interesting it looks than this, just from a gameplay and structure standpoint, never mind my, I'm a Zelda fan too, so don't think this is just me being a Persona fanboy or whatever. I don't know, it just kind of reinforces all the stereotypes I've ever heard about these games, even as I finish this one, which was a game that I enjoyed. I had a good time, and I suppose it's nice to have a game of this nature to be able to clown with on the Nintendo Switch, but I hardly ever game on the go under normal circumstances, and I'm certainly not going anywhere these days in the first place. I guess if you're into Musos, this game is apparently a pretty good one, and if you've never tried one before, I wouldn't say that this is a bad starting point. I had a good time with it, even if it was a relatively minor blip on my overall gaming radar. And if you're the type who would really pull a lot of enjoyment from the grind and from learning new characters, then I imagine you'll get a lot of mileage out of Age of Calamity. For me though, all I can say about this game is, hey, wait a second! The dad confiscated the robot, right? He took the robot from her even though it was like, and she was begging him not to, and it was a project that she worked on with her mom, and he took it for, so, okay, yeah, bad dad, we've already covered that, but he took it from her. It was just in a box in Zelda's lab. The dude literally just put it on a high shelf where Zelda couldn't reach it. And then when Zelda's like, hey, I've got this little relic to follow me around, he doesn't just go, what? You mean the robot that I put in the box in your lab? I thought you'd finally just looked around your lab and found it. Is this a new robot? Why are you acting like this is a new robot that you just found randomly? What's going on? Never mind. Go ahead and take the thing I confiscated from you, I guess. I really can't be bothered anymore. I wonder what's for dinner. Anyway, whatever. This video's over now, I guess. The game was fun, I suppose, and it had a good soundtrack, and give me Persona 5 Strikers already. My boy, these times of peace are what all true Hyrule warriors strive for.